Hello everyone, how are we doing? You guys are good too? I'm doing good too. Let's get on today's video session. Here we go! As promised, there's quite a lot of system in this. After this, Sonic 3D on Sega Mega Drive. Also available on the Sega Mega Drive 2 video games console to go. Yeah, come on, yeah. So what's this discussion about today? It's about loads of systems, but mainly on Sega ones. Ooh. Okay. So welcome back on the Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console again. Today we are gonna be going through a long way what's been happening with this system because it's important all the way back from the 1990s to 2022. Yeah, it's all about that, which is really important. Yeah. Now, if you remember way back, the original system was the Sega Mega Drive 2. We're gonna be talking about the number 2 versions of the main, okay? Not the first one. They released the Sega Mega Drive 2 games console. Now, the Sega Mega Drive 2 was the only system was successful by the company. Yeah? And when we look at afterwards, they're going to release 2 more add-ons. Now, this is confusing the public in a big way. And we got to understand very clearly how could they brought this system and be successful in the right direction. Because the way they've done it, I think it's silly. It's completely silly. I don't know why would somebody would buy that thing. It just doesn't look good. And it's too expensive. What the company was doing. They released the next add-on called the Sega Mega Drive 32X. Then the next add-on was Sega Mega CD. What is going on there, man? What is going on? But when you talk about Sega Mega Drive 2, you can buy the Sega Mega Drive 32X. That's no problem. But to buy the CD-ROM drive one, you need to buy Sega Mega CD 2. Okay? For that. And if you look on the Sega Mega Drive, underneath there was an extension port that you need to connect to the Sega Mega CD. Alright? This is where, not from there, before that, is going all wrong. Is going all wrong. The company had no idea what the heck they were doing. And they reckon doing it this way is going to be successful. Now, the way they're doing it, they're going to release this Sega Mega Drive 2 games console, yeah? It was a standalone system, yeah? And then there was a cartridge slot at the top of the system. What happened here? They're going to release a Sega Mega Drive 32X unit, yeah? This unit gets placed into the cartridge slot of the Sega Mega Drive 2 games console. And on top of that unit, there's another cartridge slot. And that's where the Sega Mega Drive 32X cartridges go in there. Now, if we look at that properly, how stupid and ridiculous this thing can really be. You have to keep on taking it out every time to play the original system, yeah? It was actually doing things like that. So if we got the original system and you go and play the Sega Mega Drive 32X on there, then you can't play the original system anymore. And what you have to do, you have to take it out again. And that can seriously damage the cartridge slot of the Sega Mega Drive console. This is stupid, man. It's stupid. Why would a company do something like that? Is the Sega Mega Drive 32X a good system to release? No. No, it isn't. We don't want any unit going inside the cartridge slot of Sega Mega Drive 2 games console. We don't want anything like that. It's stupid, man. Now, the Sega Mega Drive 2 costed £129, and this Sega Mega Drive 32X cost £179.99. Yeah, which is really expensive. Now, the Sega Mega Drive 32X had its own software, what it was using. Should they really made these titles on there? No, they shouldn't have. But the thing here was there was different titles on the Sega Mega Drive 32X. Yeah? What could they done with that? We'll explain that a bit later. Now the next add-on, which I mentioned to you, the Sega Mega Drive 2 had extension port. That's the extension port used for the Sega Mega CD2. Now, when you look at the Sega Mega CD2, it was a CD-ROM drive. It played Sega Mega CD games and audio CDs. That's what it did, which is good, which is really good. And this Sega Mega CD cannot do anything on its own. Same with the Sega Mega Drive 32X. Same with the Mega CD. They both can't do anything on their own. That's the thing I don't like about them. Because if you just bought the Sega Mega Drive 32X unit, yeah, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to use that? You can't use it. Because you need a cartridge slot of the Sega Mega Drive 2 games console. You need that. You need to put it in there. And the Sega Mega CD won't work either on its own. You need to connect it to the Sega Mega Drive 2 games console underneath the port extension on there. Ridiculous, isn't it? If I tell you one thing, there's 3 different systems here. The Sega Mega Drive 2 is the right system to release. The Sega Mega Drive 32X should never ever released. They should never release that thing. It's just completely wrong releasing that. It's a piece of crap. What kind of daft unit was that? They could have released these games of Sega Mega Drive 32X on the Sega Mega CD. They could have done that. Because the Sega Mega CD was the most advanced from the Sega Mega Drive, from Sega Mega Drive 32X. Yeah? It's technically the best hardware. If you released, what kind of games were on the Sega Mega Drive 32X? If I can remember them, we had Afterburner 2, I think, or something like that. Space Harrier. Virtual Racing and Virtual Fighter. You could have put these games on Sega Mega CD. And if you released these games on the Sega Mega CD, they would have had better graphics. And it would have even performed even better than the Sega Mega Drive 32X. It could have done that. Now, clearly understand, add-on is the wrong way to go. I am saying that the Mega Drive 32X game should be on the Mega CD. Okay, but the problem arises here is that we've got Sega Mega Drive 2 and we've got Sega Mega CD now. Yeah? Because I just shifted the Sega Mega Drive 32X. That's removed, yeah? From this discussion. It's removed. We don't want that. We could just release them games on the Sega Mega CD. Okay? That's what it is. Now, Sega Mega Drive, Sega Mega CD. How does this thing all work? You can't release the Mega CD as an add-on. No. No, no, no. You're going to understand lately what I'm trying to say here. What's happening with Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console as well? That's in the end. Now, if we got Sega Mega Drive 2 games console, I'm talking about the original one back in the 1990s. There shouldn't be any extension underneath the machine. No, there shouldn't be. And it shouldn't connect to Sega Mega CD at all. What they should have done, they should have released the Sega Mega CD 2 as a standalone system. Yes, and they could have put the Sega Mega Drive 32X games on the Sega Mega CD. Well, you don't need to do that anyway, because if we came in that year when the Sega Mega Drive 32X came out, it came in that place. These games will be on that system anyway. Can you see they wanted a more advanced system than the Sega Mega Drive? That's why some of these Sega Mega Drive 32X games were technically more advanced, and they released different ones on there. And these games would have appeared on the Sega Mega CD. Yeah, Sega Mega CD would have had the Sega Mega Drive 32X games anyway, and the Sega Mega CD games in one system. Everything would have been in one system. This system would have been called Sega Mega CD 2. Everything would have been in one place. We didn't need to release a Sega Mega Drive 32X. Releasing the Sega Mega CD 2 as a standalone console would have been a different story. Yes, it would have been a different story where they could have released this. They already released the Sega Mega Drive 2 as a cartridge-based system. They could have released a Sega Mega CD 2 standalone system with CD-based. They should have done it like that. And it would have been successful if they did that. Because then you can just have your own choice which system you want to buy. And that's up to the customers. They either buy the Sega Mega Drive 2 or they buy the Sega Mega CD 2. Or they could buy both together, the same customer. They could go and do that. But this will make it easier. There'll be two Sega games console on the market called the Sega Mega Drive 2 and the Sega Mega CD 2. Can you see where I'm coming from? You're going to understand this a bit further after this. So what's happening after this then? Now, as I said, releasing the Sega Mega CD2 as a standalone console would be the best idea for the company, and it would have been successful easily. Now, if you look at the way Sega brought out Sega Mega Drive 1 minigames console, he was very scared. The company was frightened. Of what? What they did in the Sega Mega Drive 1, if you watch some videos from the original Japanese video from Japan, they showed a, a complete system of Sega Mega Drive, uh, Sega Mega Drive 32X, Sega Mega CD. They did that, didn't they? They made like a toy, didn't they? They did all that. And the whole concept was a flop. Yeah, they did that again. That happened again. Because already the idea was a failure. And now the company was confused. So what they did, they go on with the Sega Mega Drive mini games console as just a Sega Mega Drive system. Just playing Mega Drive games. That's what they done with this original one, didn't they? And it became successful. Why? Because originally Sega Mega Drive was popular. And the company was scared of Sega Mega Drive 32X, Sega Mega CD. They didn't include any of that in this Sega Mega Drive mini games console. They didn't include any of that. They know it's going to flop again. Now, follow up to the latest information of the year 2022. Yeah? What they've done now, they're going to release a system called Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console. What have they done now? They're going to release a machine, yeah, or a system, whatever you want to call it, with Sega Mega Drive and Sega Mega CD systems in one. Yeah, that's what they've done. This is the cheaper option to get both systems together. To make it even cheaper, there's no cartridge, there's no CD in there. So they put two systems in the Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console, haven't they? Sega Mega Drive and Sega Mega CD. Now this idea is becoming really popular. It's selling out before even the release date. I mean, I've seen some information from few regions where it's selling out completely, even than the release date of the system. That's quite astonishing. I don't think nothing's astonishing about this. The whole idea is that people, we should actually say people, customers like standalone consoles. Yeah, they like separate systems and they like to buy something like that. And that's why they become successful. But the way they done the Sega Mega Drive, putting extension for the bomb and then connecting it to Sega Mega CD2 was very wrong to do. And that's why it flopped. Because originally, if they released the Sega Mega Drive 2 and the Sega Mega CD2 as standalone consoles, people got their own choice of buying which system. Or they could buy, or the one customer could buy both of them. That's up to that particular customer. But you have to keep the price really competitive on the Sega Mega CD2 because understand clearly what happened originally. Sega Mega Drive 2 was around £129 and Sega Mega CD2 was about £249.99. Yeah, it was that much. It's too much. If there is a Sega Mega CD2 as like a standalone console, the price should probably could have been down. But they released it in a different way, haven't they? They released it like the system of Sega Mega CD was on the right hand side, and on the left side, there was a space, like a stand, a space for the Sega Mega Drive 2 games console, because you need to put down the left hand side. Because all of these three consoles are 16-bit. Let's get this clear. Sega Mega Drive 2, 16-bit. Sega Mega Drive 32X, 16-bit. Sega Mega CD 2, 16-bit. There were, you have to connect the Sega Mega Drive 32X to the Mega Drive to make it 32-bit. You have to connect the Sega Mega CD to the Sega Mega Drive 2 to make it 32-bit. They did it like that. I think that idea is kind of terrible, because the Sega Mega CD 2 shouldn't be 32-bit on its own. We don't want to have joined with the Sega Mega Drive 2 and borrow the hardware power from there and make the Sega Mega CD 32-bit. This is where it was all wrong. This is all wrong. This was from Sega Mega Drive 32X the same way. Then that continued on Sega Mega CD. What the heck was Sega playing about? This is where everything was wrong. They should have released proper systems, not sharing some other system's power to make the Sega Mega Drive 32X and the Sega Mega CD 2 32-bit systems. That's where the mistake was. Now, can you see the way Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games consoles come in? It's come as a Sega Mega Drive 2 games console again, but they gave you two systems called Sega Mega Drive and Sega Mega CD, and it's become popular. That's how you do it. That's how you become popular. If they released two standalone consoles in the 1990s, this concept would have been popular and it would have been successful. But now Sega used a different idea called the Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console. He just included two systems in the Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console. This is the way to make it cheap as possible. That's why it's got a price of £104.99. Okay? If they released these as separates, it would have cost double money. Yeah? But maybe the idea, they were frightened of that it might not work. Why is Sega thinking like that? That the idea might not work. Releasing two separate consoles. Why? Did you do that originally? No. You used the Sega Mega CD 2 as an add-on. That's why it wasn't successful. That's what it was. But if you released it as a standalone console originally, that would have been successful anyway. They keep on looking at Sega Mega Drive was popular and Sega Mega CD 2 was a flop. Sega's looking at it like that. But they're not looking at the real idea because they didn't do it right. They should have released these two systems as standalone consoles. Did they do that? No. So how do you know the idea is not going to work? Because every time a company's release standalone consoles, they're popular, man. Of course they are. Now, if you look clearly, even further on, it didn't end there. Because after what happened there, Atari company released the Atari Jaguar, as a cartridge system, same way like the Sega Mega Drive. Then they go and release the Atari Jaguar CD as an add-on. They use the same idea like the Sega Mega CD 2. Why did Atari copy the idea? When the idea was a big flop already. I don't know what Atari is playing about. If your Atari Jaguar cartridge-based system was a flop, then why would you go with Atari Jaguar CD as an add-on? That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Then further on, Nintendo company, there is the Nintendo 64, a cartridge-based system that was quite successful, and it was one of the best cartridge system ever developed, with legendary video games like no other. Well, that's what I think anyway. Every console that came before the Nintendo 64 cannot touch it. No way. Gaming quality was at the highest level. Look at how many machines came before the Nintendo 64. Check this out. Here we go. SNK Need You AS, SNK Need You CD, SNK Need You CD-Z. Obviously, yeah, there is 3 different versions. Sega Mega Drive 2, Super Nintendo. Yeah. Let's just clear this properly. Sega Mega Drive, Sega Mega Drive 32X, Sega Mega CD, Super Nintendo, Panasonic 3DO, Sega Saturn, Sony PlayStation. And then follow up, Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 is better than all of these games consoles. Every single one. It's got the best graphics. It's 64-bit cartridge-based system. Best graphics, best gameplay, legendary video games. Now the mistake with this system was as well, they had a extension at the bottom as well. They did as well. They were going to release Nintendo 64 DD. Now DD stands for disk drive. Nintendo 64 would have been at the top, and the Nintendo 64 DD would have been at the bottom. That system was already a flop, even when they're going to release it. So Nintendo never released that thing to the public and to the shops or whatever. Now, Nintendo 64 is saying that it's a disk system, a CD-ROM system. Now, if you look at that properly, you know the games, they were placed in a plastic, and you know this plastic, there's a plastic over it, and the CD was inside that thing. Yeah, it was like that. It was actually like that, you know. It's like more like looking like a game cartridge. You just push it in like a game cartridge way. It's like a front loading thing. The plastic covering it, and there's a CD. This system was a disk drive system. Yeah, it was. It's using a CD. But the CD, right? That's the CD, right? There's a plastic on top of it, and the CD was inside it. It's made like that. And then the further on systems, what Nintendo did, they did the Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Wii U. They all came on CD systems. Yeah, they did that. They started using disk drives in them after the further system, and the Nintendo Switch again is using game cartridges again at the end of it. Yeah, it actually did that again. So can you see that? Sega Mega Drive 32X, Sega Mega CD, Atari Jaguar CD, Nintendo 64 DD, all flopped. Why? They're all add-ons. They all failed. I can see the way Nintendo could have done this thing. If Nintendo 64 had this system, they could have released a Nintendo 64 DD as a standalone console. Was a Nintendo 64. Before we go through that, the Atari Jaguar wasn't really a 64-bit system, you know. No, it wasn't. It was 32-bit. And the Atari Jaguar CD was 32-bit as well. They used the same idea like Sega Mega Drive, Sega Mega Drive 2 and Sega Mega CD. So what you do when you connect the Jaguar CD on top is using the power from the Jaguar to make the Atari Jaguar CD to 64-bit. He was actually doing that. It's the same thing again. But what was Nintendo 64 all about then? Nintendo 64 was the only 64-bit cartridge-based system, you know. Yeah, it was. It's the most powerful cartridge system ever made. Was the Nintendo 64 DD really a 64-bit? Yeah, it was. But how powerful was it? Basically, this Nintendo 64 DD, it was a Nintendo 64 DD 64-bit plus graphics. So Nintendo 64-bit was 64-bit. Nintendo 64 DD was 64-bit plus graphics. These graphics were even better than the original Nintendo 64, you know. It was. I think I can remember two games which looked really amazing on it. If we look at the original Nintendo 64, there was Super Mario 64 and there's F-Zero X on the Nintendo 64, you know. And on the Nintendo 64 DD, there was Super Mario RPG and F-Zero on that as well. They were they looked a lot better than the original Nintendo 64-bit games, you know. Really, really good. Now, as I've explained all the concept to you in this video, standalone consoles are successful. Each system, when they kept releasing add-ons, they kept on flopping. Yeah. Now you can see Sega Mega Drive 2 was a standalone console. That's why it was popular. And Sega Mega CD was an add-on, and that's why it was a flop. And why doesn't Sega really understand that? Why didn't you understand that? I didn't explain one more thing. After the Sega Mega CD 2, they're going to release a Sega Multi Mega. Now the Sega Multi Mega, if you look at it properly, at the back there's a cartridge, at the front there's a CD-ROM drive again. What can you see in that again? Same thing of the Sega Mega Drive 2 and the Sega Mega CD 2 again. Why is it the same? But it's not add-on. But look at it properly, the way Sega Multi Mega was done. The way they're done it, yeah, is the same idea. It's two systems in one. So what's wrong with that? But the Sega Mega Drive 2 is two systems, then why is that popular? Understand very clearly. If you look at Sega Multi Mega, it's using cartridges and CDs. That's the idea that won't work for the customers. It won't work. They don't want a one system, yeah, with cartridge and CDs. Okay? They don't want that. They want standalone consoles doing it. With cartridge and CD, it should be standalone. Not like Sega Multi Mega, where you could see a cartridge and CD. That won't work. And guess what else is happening with this Sega Multi Mega? I think originally when we look at a Sega Mega Drive 2, that's £129. Yeah? Let's calculate this very clearly. Okay. Let me work this out, yeah? Hold on. I'm going to work this out. Now, if the Sega Mega Drive 2 originally was £129, yeah, then you add the Sega Mega CD 2 add-on, that was £249.99. How much is that? That's £378.99. It's too much money. Look how expensive that is. Now, when you look at the Sega Multi-Mega, do you know how much that was? They try to make it a bit cheaper, giving you Sega Mega Drive and Sega Mega CD. £330. No, God, it's too much money. It's far too much. It's too much. It's too much. As I told you, a cartridge and CD in one system, which will never work. Every systems that kept on releasing, I'm going to tell you more systems which have been successful as standalone systems. I'm going to go a bit further. Now, take a look at that whole idea. It's not standalone system. It's two systems in one system, cartridge and CD. Nobody wants to pay a high price tag to buy the Sega Multi-Mega, and then you buying cartridge and CD together in this system. It just doesn't make sense, man. Nobody's going to go and do that. But if they want the cartridge and CD idea to work, it needs to be standalone console. Now let's look at other companies. Yeah, as standalone consoles. Doesn't matter about the sales, but they've all been hits. Now look at the Nintendo machines as standalone consoles. Nintendo NES, Nintendo 64, oh sorry, Nintendo NES, Super Nintendo, N64, Nintendo GameCube. They're all successes. It's only Nintendo Wii U. Sorry, Nintendo Wii was another hit. Nintendo Wii U where it got messed up because they were confusing the public the way the system was released. That's why that as a standalone console wasn't successful, and that's why it was a big flop. But if you look at all the machines, NES, Super Nintendo, N64, Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Wii, they're all hits. They're all successful. Can you see how the system works? Standalone consoles are successful than rather having another system as an add-on is a flop, and nobody wants that. Can you see? Nintendo Wii U flopped because of they thought it was an upgrade from Nintendo Wii. From the color went from white to black. They got it just curvy from the sides, giving you update game controller with the screen and the name Wii U, and people thought the U means upgrade. Okay, he actually didn't mean that. The U didn't mean upgrade at all. He meant something else. I'm not going to go too much into that details. That's why that system as a standalone was not successful. Then after that, they go on with the Nintendo Switch. Again, it was a standalone console, and it was a major success. Can you see? They all like standalone consoles, and they all hits except for Nintendo Wii U. But all Nintendo machines were all hits. Yeah, they all were successful by this company. It's the longest running video game company where Nintendo, one of the best gaming system is the Nintendo GameCube. I think for gaming anyway, that's one of the best gaming system ever made. Not only for them, Nintendo GameCube is one of the best games console in world history. It's got all the best video games anyway. So that's how it works. Can you see? Standalone consoles are hits. Now, Look at the final concept. In the year, now they're going to release on 27th October 2022 the Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console. On 27th October 2022, I should say that way. They released a Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console as a standalone games console. Yeah, they put two systems in one, and they are successful. Why? Because it's just a one system. That's why. That's why it's popular. That's all it is. But Sega still doesn't understand one thing. Okay, he's understanding one thing, that releasing standalone consoles are successful. But what's the one thing he still doesn't understand? He doesn't understand that if you release Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console, you could also release Sega Mega CD 2 mini games console as well as a separate console, rather bringing the system in one, because already they released the Sega Mega Drive mini games console already. They could have just released the Sega Mega CD mini games console straight away. They didn't need to release the Sega Mega Drive again. No, they didn't need to do that. They could have just released the Sega Mega CD. They could have, the Sega Mega CD 2 originally, they could have used that design as a Sega Mega CD 2, not the left side on the space. The CD-ROM drive part. They could have just released that part from the CD-ROM drive, and they could have made that something like that, and they could have released it, and it would have been popular. They only need to release a Sega Mega CD minigames console. It would have been popular anyway. You didn't need to release your Sega Mega Drive 2 minigames console. No, you didn't need to do that. You didn't have to keep on. You don't have to keep on releasing the Sega Mega Drive over again, because you already released the Sega Mega Drive mini games console. Why are you going to release another Sega Mega Drive 2 for? You don't need to do that. You only need to release the Sega Mega CD 2 as a standalone console. That's what you need to do. And it would have been popular anyway. I do understand one thing, because you need the Sega Mega Drive hardware in there, but that's not a problem. You could just release a Sega Mega CD 2 mini games console and put that hardware inside the system. And the Sega Mega CD 2 would have been a 32-bit anyway. And releasing as a standalone system, it would have been popular. I think they should have just released the Sega Mega CD 2 on its own. I don't think they should have released the Sega Mega Drive in there. Yeah, I don't really think it's a wise idea to release the Sega Mega Drive, because we already got the Sega Mega Drive mini games console. We already got that. We don't need it again. We only needed the Sega Mega CD 2 as a standalone console, but the company is so scared that it might flop again. Yeah, well, it flopped because you released it as a Sega Mega CD 2 as an add-on. Did you release it as a Sega Mega CD 2 as a standalone console? No. And that's where the company is wrong. And now Sega Mega CD 2 should have been a standalone console on 27th October 2022. But instead of that, they go and use Sega Mega Drive and Sega Mega CD together in one. Well, that's how they've done it. It's becoming really popular. It's all about standalone consoles. That's what I'm trying to say. It's all about releasing separate consoles, yeah? And this is the idea to become successful. Do not release systems with two systems in one. It doesn't work, because you have to keep on releasing add-ons to do that, isn't it? You can't just go and put it in one, can you? Yeah, you can't do stuff like that, can you? That's not actually gonna work. Because that's what they actually should have done. Because I think originally, because when they even released it, they should have thought that idea in the first place. Shouldn't they, really? Shouldn't they just release the Sega Mega CD2 just like a separate console, really? In the 1990s, you've never done that? Why did you release it as an add-on? Very stupid mistake that was. Now can you see Sega Mega Drive 2 mini games console? What's this all about? It's a standalone console. That's why it's popular. It's not popular because it's Sega Mega Drive's in there. No, it's not that. It's popular because it's a standalone console. That's why it became successful. That's all it is, really. I tell you right now, Sega Mega CD games are much better than Sega Mega Drive. Why would people ignore that? Nobody will ignore that. But if you release systems in wrong ways, then the system becomes flops, you see. That's the whole idea of this process. That's all I have to say. So now I hope you understand what I'm saying here. And I'll give you a full information how the system should have read originally. Now they released the Sega Mega Drive 2 minigames console as a standalone with Sega Mega Drive and Sega Mega CD, and it becomes popular. There you have it. Give your likes, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.